What's up, everybody? It's Matt from howtomotorcyclerepair.com. In today's video, we're going to be adjusting the fuel screw on this 06 KX250F. It's basically all the same for all these four-stroke dirt bikes. I mean, the fuel screw adjustment is a procedure that, or what we're going to cover today, is pretty much the same for any motorcycle with a fuel screw. Okay? But it's really important on these four strokes because it can get really finicky to start if it's too lean or if it's too rich, and more so than any other bikes, I gotta admit. I mean, you know, and then you got the choke, you got the hot start, so it's very important that you get it right. All right, first, before you begin, the bike has to be hot. Go ride it for 10 minutes, get it to operating temperature. Also, the fuel screw setting will tell you whether your pilot jet is sized correctly or not. And you want the fuel screw to be or fall into 1 to 2.5 turns out. Any less than 1, you're too rich. If you're over 2.5, you're too lean. And you don't want to go more than 2.5 because then you risk the fuel screw falling out because there's little to no thread engagement or whatever. Now, another thing is if you can turn the fuel screw all the way in and the engine does not die, then you're too rich. Okay? And if you blip the throttle and the RPMs hang, then you're too lean. You're going to want to richen it up. So having it set properly will also help with bogging issues. It's not going to completely get rid of it. You got to address the accelerator pump circuit, but if you don't have the pilot's jet sized correctly, then it just makes the problem even worse. Now, in my experience, these bikes like anywhere from the stock pilot to 1 to 2 sizes larger. So anywhere from stock to 2 sizes larger is what I typically find that these want. This bike here has a pilot jet 2 sizes over stock. I believe a 45 is in there, and it runs great. The fuel screw falls at 2 turns out, and it runs really good. Now also, you want an adjustable fuel screw, and you'll see that in a second. The stock fuel screw is buried. You're going to need a small little itty bitty screwdriver or a little bit, and you're going to end up burning your hands. Buy the $10, $15 fuel screw and be done with it. It's worth it for every penny. So for any products that I mentioned in this video, the adjustable fuel screw and the pilot jet, go in the video description, and you'll see links to those in case you want to buy them. I highly recommend them. All right, so here's your idle adjustment. Turning it counterclockwise lowers it, clockwise raises it. And here's the fuel screw that I'm talking about. So normally this thing is buried way up in here and you can't even get in there with a tool. So this makes it nice and easy. You just sit here and adjust it. This one's a little worn, but anyway, it works. All right, I already made a Sharpie mark on there since the numbers are all worn off. Just make a mark so you know where you're at and you can count turns. Okay? So before we begin, we're going to want to lightly seat it. And lightly, I mean, it's just a little tip on these fuel screws. And you don't want to crank it in there. You might damage the seat. You might break the tip, whatever. It's just a little snug, a little tight, and that's it. So we're going to want to turn it all the way in and back it out to 2 turns, 2.5 turns, whatever, as a stock baseline. And then what we're going to do is start the engine. We're going to try to get the idle low. You don't want it cranking high. You don't want it way too low, but you want it nice and low, a little lower than what you normally have it. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this in until the engine begins to stumble. And then we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to open it up and basically get it to where it stumbles again. And then we're going to find the highest RPM between those two positions, and we're going to get it to the highest RPM and the smoothest running engine, and hopefully that is the setting. Now, sometimes you don't get a stumble on going rich, going out. So what I do is I turn it out till the engine smooths out, and that's pretty much it. All right, so let's go ahead and lightly seat it. Okay, Okay, so it's slightly seated. I'm going to open it up. 1, 2 turns. And that just happens to be the perfect setting for this bike. But let's just go through the procedure. And I'm not going to be able to count or talk because this thing's going to be pretty loud. But basically, remember, this screw is upside down. So when I go this way, I'm turning it in or leaning it out. Or if I'm going this way out, it's richer. And you're not going to be able to see my fingers move too much, but you're going to be able to hear the engine. Alright, so the idle's low enough. Let's go ahead and turn it in. See what happens. So we're at 1 turn out. You notice it's dropping a little bit. Okay, now it's starting to see, and now it's all the way in, and it just died. So the Pilot Jet, you know, it's not too rich, maybe just a hair, or it's you know, it died, so that's good. Now we're back to 2 turns out. Let's go the opposite way. 2.5, 3 turns. So see how it's starting to slow down a little bit? So let's screw it in. 2.5, and we're at 2. Let's just make sure it's at 2 again. Another thing you want to notice is when I rev it up, the RPMs drop really fast idle. They don't hang up or they don't dip below. They come back really fast, and it's just a beautiful thing. It's perfectly sized. All right, so now you got it set right. What you want to do is kickstart it and see how easily it starts. So that is how you adjust the fuel screw. Alright guys, I also have a carb clean video on this bike. I get it halfway disassembled, we pulled the carb off and we clean it. So definitely check that video out if you have issues cleaning your carb. And I have a ton of videos on my channel, so definitely subscribe. Hit the little HTMR button in the window, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.